Well, the Commonwealth exists. It's not like the European Union. The European Union has grown as a cooperation, intergovernmental cooperation between countries of Europe. Whereas the Commonwealth is something quite different. It's our history. It stems from the British Empire, which is now well since over. And the word I use about the Commonwealth is the opportunity. There's an opportunity for us in Gibraltar, for us in the United Kingdom, to take it or leave it. It exists. There are 53 nations that cooperate together in a free association of nations. It's no longer dominated by Britain. We're no longer an empire, so we're equal partners. Now, Gibraltar fits into this as a British overseas territory. And I think Gibraltar's got a lot to contribute to the Commonwealth and a lot perhaps to benefit from the Commonwealth. And so that I would see as an opportunity which we now got to take against the background of the Brexit discussions and the fact that Britain and the British government is hosting and chairing the summit meeting of the Commonwealth in May of next year.
Okay, so another of the areas that you highlighted and sort of, the Brexit situation brings to the fore is trade, and new trade relationships are something or are things which Britain are looking to sort of try to manufacture in the coming months and years. What role does might the Commonwealth play in that new picture?
Well, although for Gibraltar and the UK, the Commonwealth is still much smaller than the EU in terms of trade, nevertheless, the Commonwealth is globally increasing and growing at the pace of 4%, which is a lot. And by 2020, it will be £1 trillion worth of trade. And so the potential is there. Now, Gibraltar, of course, we've been talking already, the discussion is starting about access, single market access or whatever. But first of all, there's a need for increasing even further the links between the United Kingdom and Gibraltar. But then going beyond that, I think, is a very interesting question. And that is, in the longer term, to what extent can we facilitate an increased trade with the Commonwealth, of which Gibraltar must be a part? And that's how I see it happening. Now, I'm not a great believer in endless trade treaties. I'd much rather what we should do is to make it easier to trade, facilitate trade. And that's what I hope Her Majesty's government will do, incorporating Gibraltar wherever it makes sense for Gibraltar.
And what of Gibraltar's future? I mean, a lot of attention has been cast our way in recent days after the EU draft negotiating guidelines for Brexit singled Gibraltar out for negative treatment, as it were. Or certainly for unfavourable treatment, shall we say. How do you see that situation as it's unfolded in the past few days? I'm sure you've followed it closely.
Well, I think the way we've got to approach it is the way that the Prime Minister, Mrs May, is approaching it, which is to be positive, to indulge in as much Giorgio, as he called it, to use the Churchillian phrase, to identify with Spain where the common interests are, because it's very important to Spain and Britain that we have a strong relationship in trade, in cultural issues, in investment. It's there already. It matters to Spain, it matters to Britain. Then if you narrow it down to this region, it's very important to Spain as well as to Gibraltar that we continue with this growing cooperation on the economic side. The flow of Spanish people who come across here to work here is in the interests of this region of Spain, just as much as it is in the interests of Gibraltarians and for Britain as a whole. And then we've got the joint cooperation on security issues between Spain and Gibraltar, which are extremely important for both countries. So what I'm really leading up to is looking for positive common ground. We have the long-standing difference with Spain on this issue of sovereignty. So set that on one side, accept and respect the fact that Britain has one view, Spain another view, and for the sake of Gibraltar, build on constructive areas of where it brings benefit to all of us.